if you look at a massive suspension bridge, your eye is immediately drawn to the giant concrete pillars.
Oh, yeah. Or like those massive sweeping steel cables that reflect the sunlight.
Right, exactly. But what actually holds the whole thing together, the thing that keeps the entire structure from just, collapsing under the stress of daily traffic, are millions of tiny, almost invisible rivets.
Yeah. You never really notice them.
You don't, but
Yeah.
they are doing the actual real work.
It's a phenomenal feat of engineering, honestly. I mean, if you remove those tiny rivets, the massive pillars and the heavy cables mean absolutely nothing.
Right.
The tension fails, the load distribution collapses, and the entire structure just completely gives way.
And human society is basically a giant suspension bridge.
Oh, I like that.
We naturally focus on our own big pillars, right? Like our major career milestones, our deep family bonds, the huge global events we all watch unfold on the news.
Yeah, the heavy cable.
Exactly. But today, we are looking really closely at the sociological rivets. And those rivets, believe it or not, are made entirely of small talk.
Yep, small talk.
Welcome to today's deep dive. If you're listening to this right now, I know you are someone who loves acquiring practical knowledge without all the, the fluff. You want to understand the hidden gears of how the world actually works.
And this is definitely a hidden gear.
It really is. Today, we are exploring this fascinating document titled Talking About the Weather.pdf, and it essentially serves as a comprehensive overview of the social science behind small talk.
Right.
Our mission today is to decode the hidden mechanics of everyday conversation. We are going to look right past the sheer banality of chatting about the rain, and we're going to discover how small talk is actually the invisible glue holding society together.
I love that mission.
Thanks. And to help us synthesize all this dense behavioral science, I am joined by our resident expert. You are basically the ultimate guide for taking this kind of sociological research and showing us why it actually matters to our daily routines.
Well, thank you. Glad to be diving into this. It's one of those behavioral phenomena that seems, entirely superficial on the surface.
Right, like totally meaningless.
Exactly. But once you start looking at the underlying psychological mechanics, it completely changes how you view, every single mundane interaction you have at the grocery store or, waiting for a Zoom meeting to start.
Yes. So let's start with the most famous or maybe infamous small talk topic of all time, the weather.
The classic.
Across basically all cultures, talking about the weather is the universally accepted conversational opener. And the psychology here relies on a couple of foundational pillars. First, it is entirely universal.
Right. Everyone has weather.
Literally every single person on the planet experiences weather, so there is zero barrier to entry. Second, it's emotionally neutral. It carries incredibly low risk and basically zero potential for conflict.
Unless you're talking to a meteorologist who disagrees with your forecast, maybe.
True. But generally, when you comment on the rain, it creates what sociologists call a micro moment of joint attention. It allows you to signal friendliness to a complete stranger without being, overly intrusive.
Which brings us to a really crucial linguistic and sociological term here. Phatic communication.
Fact.
Yeah, phatic. LinkedIn actually highlighted this concept recently. Phatic communication is language that is used specifically to maintain social connection rather than to exchange actual information.
Okay, let's unpack this, because understanding that distinction shifts the entire paradigm of how we talk to each other.
It really does.
So, phatic communication essentially means the data packet is empty, but the ping itself is the message. It's like emotional sonar.
I love the emotional sonar comparison.
We're using words, but the literal definition of the words isn't the point of the exchange at all. Mental Floss pointed out that psychologists see this as a way to test the waters. So I was thinking about this, and weather talk is kind of like the lobby of a building.
Okay, how so?
It's this perfectly neutral space that everyone has to pass through. And lingering in that lobby gives you a chance to see if the other person is actually willing to take the elevator up to a deeper conversation with you.
It is. But to push that lobby analogy a bit further, think about what happens when someone fundamentally misunderstands the purpose of that space.
Oh, boy. Yeah.
We have all been in a situation where phatic communication just totally fails. You step into an elevator, you nod at an acquaintance, and you say, "Hey, how are you doing?"
Right, the classic empty ping.
Exactly. You are signaling, I acknowledge you and I am friendly. But occasionally, someone answers that question entirely literally.
Oh.
They say, well, my back is acting up, I'm having a massive dispute with my landlord, and my dog threw up on the rug this morning.
Right, the social tension instantly spikes in the room. You just feel trapped.
Because they skipped the lobby entirely and dragged you straight into their messy living room.
That is a perfect way to put it.
When you walk into that lobby and say, wow, it's really pouring out there, you aren't providing a meteorological update.
Right, the other person already knows it's raining. They have eyes.
What you are actually doing is transmitting a social signal of safety. This is how we test the waters, just like you mentioned. If the person in the lobby responds warmly, maybe they make a joke about needing to build an ark, then the conversational sonar pings back.
Oh.
You've established a mutual baseline of warmth, and the conversation can safely step into the elevator and deepen. But if they just grunt and look away...
The interaction ends right there in the lobby.
Exactly. Neither of you loses face, and nobody gets rejected on a personal level.
Which is great for avoiding awkwardness, but, I mean, avoiding awkwardness doesn't build a network or a community.
Right?
So how do we actually get out of that lobby? If weather talk is just the safe testing ground, what actual structural purpose do these mundane conversations serve for our relationships once we move past the initial ping?
That's the real question.
The research breaks down the architecture of connection, and it starts with this concept of building weak ties. Chatting about mundane things like your weekend plans or waiting in a queue helps build these weak ties, which sociologists argue are absolutely crucial for networking and finding new opportunities.
They are.
But why is a weak tie more valuable than a strong tie when it comes to opportunity?
This goes back to a really foundational sociological theory by Mark Granovetter. Think about your strong ties, your close friends, your immediate family, your tightest colleagues at work.
Okay, my inner circle.
Right. You all run in the exact same circles, you share the same information pools, you know the same people, and you hear about the same opportunities.
It's an echo chamber.
It's an echo chamber. But a weak tie is like the person you only occasionally chat with at the dog park, or the barista you make small talk with every Tuesday. They exist in entirely different social clusters.
Ah, so they act as a bridge.
Precisely. They are structural bridges to completely new networks of information. When you are looking for a new job or trying to solve a novel problem, your strong ties will only feed you what you already know.
Because they're looking at the same job boards I am.
Exactly. The weak ties built entirely on the back of phatic communication and small talk are the ones who introduce you to a lead or a concept from an entirely different world.
That reframes the stakes of the coffee shop interaction completely. It's not just a polite exchange, it's literal networking.
It is.
But wait, if I'm stuck in a queue or traffic and I complain to a stranger, aren't I just spreading negativity?
That's a really common concern.
Because untypicable.co.uk mentions that small talk performs a crucial function of social cohesion, basically reassuring others we're non-threatening. But if I'm grumbling about the grocery store line, how does shared frustration actually build rapport? It seems super counterintuitive to the idea of signaling friendliness.
What's fascinating here is that the shared frustration operates as a powerful unifying force because it establishes a common adversary.
A common adversary.
Yeah. It isn't about wallowing in personal negativity. When you are stuck in a terrible commute and you catch the eye of the person next to you and make a mild complaining joke about the delayed train, you're building instant solidarity against the system.
Oh. The train is the enemy, and we are suddenly allies in the trenches.
Exactly. Through that mild humor and empathy over a shared annoyance, strangers are actually coordinating their behavior to maintain order.
Ah.
Think about the unspoken rules of a long queue. The mutual eye rolls and the muttered complaints are a way of collectively agreeing that the situation is bad.
Right, everyone hates it.
But by acknowledging it together, you are reinforcing politeness norms. You are essentially saying to the stranger, we are in this deeply uncomfortable situation together, but I recognize your humanity, and we are going to navigate this shared space politely instead of turning on each other. It diffuses tension.
So the complaint is just the vehicle for the empathy. It's that micro moment of joint attention again, just focused on a frustrating delay instead of a rain cloud.
You got it.
Because these micro interactions are so vital for our social cohesion and that instant solidarity, they aren't just polite habits we've accidentally developed over time. They are a primary target for scientific and institutional study.
Well, really are.
It's like observing the tiny gears in a watch. Sociologists aren't looking at weather talk to find out the temperature.
Right.
They're looking at it to see exactly how the gears of society are turning. They're studying how we negotiate friendliness, how we manage social distance, and how we perform social competence.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, viewing small talk as this intricate system of gears, essentially a formalized micro-ritual that keeps society functioning, it completely changes how we should perceive certain high-stakes professional interactions.
Like what?
Well, take the field of social work, for example. Sage journals actually highlighted how institutions actively use small talk to soften formal interactions.
That's a great application. A social worker arriving at someone's home is an inherently formal, high stakes, and potentially very intimidating event.
It is incredibly intimidating. There is a massive power imbalance right out of the gate. If that social worker just walks through the front door with a clipboard and immediately starts asking deeply personal, invasive questions about parenting or financial struggles,
Oh man, the client's psychological defenses will instantly slam shut.
instantly, the gears of the interaction will jam, the client will feel interrogated rather than supported.
Right, because there was no lobby. They were shoved straight into the vulnerability.
But by strategically utilizing the micro-ritual of small talk, taking 5 minutes to comment on the heat outside or the really complicated parking situation on the street or the smell of coffee in the kitchen, the social worker is actively lowering those defenses.
Wow.
They are using phatic communication to establish a baseline of shared humanity. They are proving they are safe and observant before they ask the client to step into the elevator of deeper, more vulnerable topics.
They are proving they're safe before they ask for trust. That is brilliant. And it really shows how small talk is a tool, not just filler.
Exactly. It's a highly effective tool.
So, if the weather is the absolute gold standard micro-ritual because it's so universal, what are the other conversational gears in this social watch? And what underlying traits make them work?
Good question.
Because sociologists define safe topics by looking for very specific characteristics. They look for shared experience, low emotional risk, and cultural neutrality.
Right. Weather ticks all those boxes perfectly.
It really does. But two other traits stand out as particularly powerful. A topic must be expandable, and it must offer optional disclosure.
Let's look at expandability first. Asking someone about their weekend is a classic small talk move because you are essentially handing them a conversational menu.
A menu.
Yeah, it is infinitely expandable. If you ask, did you get up to much this weekend?
Hmm.
And the person is tired or maybe just uninterested, they can give a closed answer. Not really, just relaxed.
Right. They've politely declined to expand.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But if they say, yeah, I actually drove up to the mountains, they have expanded the menu. They are giving you permission to ask about hiking or nature or travel. The topic scales perfectly to match the comfort level of both parties.
You're handing them the steering wheel.
Exactly.
And then there is talking about pets. Here's where it gets really interesting. The behavioral science highlights pets as this incredibly unique topic because it leans heavily on that second trait we mentioned, optional disclosure.
Oh, pets are fascinating.
Are pets basically a psychological cheat code? Because it seems like you get to share this highly emotional, positive story about a dog or a cat, and you completely bypass any real personal vulnerability yourself.
It functions entirely as a cheat code. Let's contrast pets with a high-risk topic like family dynamics or politics.
Okay.
If you talk about your family, you are immediately navigating minefields of potential trauma, complex relationships, and deep personal insecurities.
Yeah, that requires immense vulnerability.
But when you tell a story about your golden retriever stealing a sock and running around the yard, you are projecting warmth. You are demonstrating to the other person that you have a capacity for care, that you have empathy, and that you are emotionally engaged.
But the focus is on the dog, not you.
Precisely. You haven't actually revealed any deep personal insecurities or sensitive data about your inner life. Optional disclosure lets people choose exactly how much of their inner world to reveal while still participating in a seemingly intimate exchange.
That's so smart.
Topics like pets or even a passion for a specific type of food serve as the perfect low-stakes bridge. You get all the social cohesion and rapport building of a deep conversation with the psychological safety profile of talking about the rain.
It's all about finding that bridge without triggering anyone's alarms.
Yep.
Understanding all of this sociological theory is genuinely fascinating. Granovetter's weak ties, phatic communication, optional disclosure. But how do we actually apply this to our own lives?
That's the practical side.
Right. How do you, the listener, Use this to navigate your next networking event or a stiff social gathering or even just a new office environment without feeling completely overwhelmed by the pressure to be constantly interesting.
The primary takeaway for application is to stop trying to be interesting and start trying to be observant.
Stop trying to be interesting.
Yes. The first step is to always anchor the conversation in a shared reality. Don't overthink your opening line. Use the weather, the temperature of the room, or the immediate surroundings to establish that initial joint attention.
Right, the lobby.
Exactly. Once you are in that shared reality, you shift to light,
Yeah.
open questions. Instead of asking a binary yes or no question like, are you busy today? Ask something expandable like, how's your week going so far?
And then comes the actual mechanics of listening. Because you have to listen specifically for hooks.
Hooks are everything.
You aren't just waiting for your turn to speak. You're listening for the small details in their answer that you can build on.
Right.
If they say, I'm a bit exhausted, I was up late trying to bake bread for the first time, the word exhausted isn't the hook. No, not at all. The baking is the hook. You match their energy, you validate their attempt, and you gently pull on that hook by asking about the bread.
Because if you just focus on the exhaustion, you are dragging the conversation into a negative closed loop. Oh, you're tired. That stinks.
Yeah, dead end.
By focusing on the novel detail, the baking, you are utilizing their optional disclosure. They offered you a detail about their life, and by picking up on it, you are validating their attempt to connect.
The ultimate lesson here is to use small talk as a bridge, not the destination. The actual content of the chat doesn't matter. It's the structural connection being formed.
It's all about connection.
So what does this all mean? It means we need to completely reframe how we view these mundane interactions. These aren't just sleazy networking tricks to get ahead in business, and they aren't annoying obligations. They are practical, necessary tools for empathy. In a world where we are constantly facing digital information overload, where we're bombarded with data, small talk is a way to cut through all the noise and simply connect with the human being standing right in front of you.
Beautifully said.
It's a way to say, I see you, we are sharing this space together, and we are okay.
This raises an important question for all of us to consider about our own modern daily habits.
Oh.
Knowing that small talk is this vital micro-ritual that holds the structural integrity of our communities together, how often do we actively sabotage it?
Oh, wow.
How often do we miss those crucial conversational hooks because we're simply too focused on rushing past the interaction?
No, all the time. The instinct to just get it over with is so strong.
We step into a rideshare or we walk up to a checkout counter and we immediately put our noise-canceling headphones in, or we stare down at our phones.
Guilt.
We are actively dismantling those tiny sociological rivets.
Yeah.
We treat the lobby like a nuisance instead of the gateway to the rest of the building. We often view small talk as a frustrating obstacle to get past, rather than the very foundation of our social cohesion.
We are starving ourselves of weak ties because we don't want to endure 30 seconds of awkwardness.
Exactly.
Man. To recap our journey today, we've taken a deep dive into the hidden mechanics of everyday conversation. We discovered that when someone brings up the rain, they aren't just stating a meteorological fact.
Nope.
They are engaging in emphatic communication. They are sending out an emotional sonar ping to test the waters of your social warmth. We learned that small talk builds the weak ties that actually lead to new opportunities and broader perspectives.
Crucial for networking.
Absolutely. It helps us coordinate our behavior in public spaces through shared frustrations, and it provides the necessary micro-rituals that keep high-stakes interactions functioning smoothly, like the social worker. We explored the anatomy of a safe topic, why things like the weather, food, and pets provide the perfect balance of expandability and optional disclosure. And most importantly, we learned that the goal isn't to exchange data. It's to find those conversational hooks and build a bridge to genuine connection. Thank you so much for guiding us through this and breaking down the science behind the chatter.
It was a great discussion. But before we sign off, I want to leave everyone with a final thought to ponder, building on everything we've unpacked today.
All right, let's hear it.
We established that the weather and the immediate physical environment are the ultimate safe topics because they rely entirely on a shared physical reality.
Right.
But what happens to our social cohesion in fully remote or virtual workspaces? When we don't share the same weather outside our windows, when we don't share the same frustrating commute to bond over, and when we are never standing in the same physical waiting room, how do we create those crucial micro moments of joint attention to test the waters?
Oof. That is a massive puzzle for the modern remote world.
It really is.
If we don't have the shared physical lobby, How do we know who is willing to get in the elevator with us? Do we just rely on complaining about the video conferencing software?
Maybe.
Keep mulling that over. And the next time you are standing in line at the grocery store and someone mentions the dark clouds rolling in, remember, you aren't just talking about the sky. You are fastening one of the tiny, invisible rivets that keeps the giant suspension bridge of our society from falling apart. Keep learning, keep paying attention, and go practice your new small talk toolkit. Catch you on the next deep dive.